Welcome to the Armoury podcast, episode number 2. So today we sit down, myself and head coach Matt Manti, to talk about what has become one of the strongest mantras in his life, which is the obstacle is the path. So it's easy to look at somebody like Matt who's fit, who's strong, he's got a wonderful family, had loving parents, great upbringing, and think, man, you've had it so easy. If I just had it easy without all the struggles that I have, boy, I could fulfill my greatest potential and I could find my greatest strength too. But that's not the way it is. Matt's had a lot of struggles in his life, obstacles that he is still facing. So we dive deep into those obstacles, into those struggles, and how he has chosen to use those struggles and those obstacles to find his greatest strength, to fulfill his potential, and to find his path in life. If you stick around and listen to the end, you're going to find ways that you can use your obstacles to find your greatest strength. And I know that one of your life philosophies, one of your main mantras is that the obstacle is the path. So why don't you tell me a little bit about that, how that became to be so important to you and how that's become kind of a guidepost for your life?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of different ways. I think where I'd start, where my mind first goes, is back to my childhood. Actually, I was about 13 years old. It was a summer between grade 7 and grade 8, and this weird thing that I couldn't quite put my hand on or my finger on, like what was happening to me. Started happening regularly, where it was like I wouldn't blank out, but I would kind of lose focus and feel. I called it a sick feeling. I almost feel nauseous, and it would happen for like 45 to 60 seconds, and then I'd kind of snap out of it and go about my day. And eventually I told this to my parents, and obviously that's cause for concern. And long story short, it came clear that I had epilepsy, right? So epilepsy, without getting too technical, is a disease of the brain. One of the things that it produces is seizures, right? And there's different levels of seizures, but I got just small ones, right? Not 15 minutes writhing on the floor. That's not the only type of seizure. Mine were very simple, but I was having like 15 of them a day, like I described, right? But the thing is, it's not just seizures that happens. It was... Man, there was some hard lessons. What happened is my whole personality changed, my whole kind of IQ level, people skills, communication. I went from, decently popular, athletic, lots of friends. I went, again, decently smart as far as school, like academically. And I just went, when I started that grade 8 year, I wasn't myself. And so obviously I lost all my friends, really. No blame to them. I was annoyed. I was immature. I was struggling. And then plus I'm having seizures in the middle of school and stuff. And so, very quickly I lost my friend group. Even my athleticism seemed to take a turn for the worst. Failing all my grades, and really for a young kid in a very short amount of time, it was like my whole life fell apart, right? And I was lonely, and I was really struggling, and that's what I lead into now. Looking back, though, is I made one of my greatest discoveries in my life in that time, and it was through my mom, which shows the example of setting that example, the power of that, right? Now being parents ourselves and such, right? But my mom always worked out in the basement with these light blue dumbbells, like 5 pounds, 10 pounds. And one day I just decided to pick them up, and I just decided to see what happened. And it's like, I went, get some arm exercises going. I'm pretty sure the curls were the first exercise. Such a surprise for a young man to go straight to arm exercises. But eventually, I ended up really enjoying it. I ended up just like, wow, I felt free for that amount of time that I was just trying to learn how to work out and kind of do what my mom does, and then it became something that I just wanted to do. I wanted to do it all the time, every day. It morphed into something that I just enjoyed, where I was like sitting in school, a place of struggle and hardship. I was literally like counting on the clock, like, when do I get home so I can go lift those blue dumbbells, And I said, a time where I had really no friends, those were my friends.
The blue dumbbells.
It was the dumbbells actually, that were my friends, and that I look forward to spending time, just lifting them. And it developed into this passion, this thing that I loved. Right. And I think that was really my first lesson. I didn't know it then, but my first lesson in the concept of the obstacle is the path. Now when I look back, it's like, that's still one of the greatest obstacles I've ever faced to this day, what I had to deal with through that phase. But it guided me. Because of that obstacle, it led me to strength training, to working out, which has then shaped and formed and become such a massive part of my identity, to the point of becoming a personal trainer, and then opening a fitness business, and now developing my own brand and own system. It all started when I was dealing with one of the hardest times in my life that I've ever faced.
So that obstacle very early in life led you to a path of strength.
Yes.
So that, I know, isn't the only obstacle that has been in your path, that you've been dealing with another major obstacle almost all your life. Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit about that one.
So yeah, then on top of that, when I was a baby, I had all sorts of ear infections. So the ear infections got in the way of the growth and proper development of my ears, which resulted in severe hearing loss. Right. So I was always hearing impaired, but then in my 20s, for whatever reason, my mom, I was still living at home, and my mom came down one day and she's just like, I don't think you're hearing as good. You're not hearing that as good. I'm repeating myself more. I want you to get your hearing tested. And I did that fairly regularly anyways, but I went to get my hearing tested. I'm maybe 21 or so. And the audiologist says, well, you've lost another 40% of the hearing that you had. So, I was at about 75% in my left ear, pretty decent. And my right ear's always been pretty much nothing, maybe 10%. But then now, currently, I lost hearing then, and then a little bit more. And it seems to be kind of holding steady, where I'm at about 10% in each ear now. Is where I'm at. So it's like the difficulty and the challenges are obviously many, for myself, for the people close to me, for my wife, patients. People do have to repeat themselves more. It's a little more work sometimes, I think, but at the same time, the story that links in with the obstacle being the path is that. That became clear when I went for coffee with someone, and we were just talking, and he said, I feel I got to tell you what your greatest strength is. And I'm like, sure, that sounds nice, right? And he's like, your greatest strength is how you listen, right? Your greatest strength is how you listen. And this is, this is further along on my journey now. This is where the obstacle is the path. Really, I walked out of that meeting and I'm like, okay, I actually know what the obstacle is the path, what that actually means, what that actually is. And in this situation, it's quite obvious with a physical disability like that, like I have to read lips. You know what I mean? I have to, and you know this, you spend lots of time around me. But through that challenge, that obstacle of being nearly deaf and having to read lips, it's turned me into an exceptional listener.
Absolutely.
Oh, I thank you. Right? Yeah, and that's what this friend was trying to tell me. He says, when I'm talking to you, I feel like you care. when I'm talking to you, I don't feel like your mind is someplace else, and that you're thinking of different things. You are literally, I feel like I'm being heard, and that's so important to me. And he says, I know I'm not the only one who feels this way, because I see it with the people you interact with, and and different relationships. And I thought, yeah, now there is the obstacle as a path, right? Where I wake up every day having to face this obstacle, that it would be easier to not interact with anybody. It would be easier to hide in the closet and not have to put forward the effort, right? But at the same time, then I don't get to live out my passion. Then I don't get a connection and all the wonderful things in my life. And the only way to experience those things for me is to be extremely focused when people are talking.
Right, because you aren't going to be distracted by that door closing or by something else going on, and you can't check your phone. Because the moment you look away from the person that is speaking with you to check your phone, or the thousand of other things that we do, you are not hearing what they're saying. So you are 100% focused on them, which I think is very rare. And it makes people feel like what they're saying is important and you're really taking it in. So I agree. The obstacle there has led you to one of your greatest strengths.
Yes, I would say, so really, when you look at it, we can break it down and realize, and we can choose our focus and our thoughts. Really, I can sit here and honestly say my lack of hearing is a gift, because my lack of hearing has shaped me into someone that I wouldn't be without that challenge to face.
Right.
So it actually, even part of me, I don't even know what I'm missing out on, right? I don't know what all the pictures of music sound like.
Sometimes it is a blessing. I'm going to say that.
I don't hear the birds singing. I don't hear, like, especially high pitches. I have nothing left. I get a little bit from my hearing aid that can help a bit, but it's like so. Obviously there's wonderful things about fully working and functioning ears, and having two little boys, I would never wish for them to have the hearing impairment that I have. But at the same time, this being reality for me, really, I think to embrace it and to be grateful for it, and realize that it's shaping me into I feel who I'm meant to be, using the skills, using what I don't have an option, right? There is no choice, but to listen very closely, to be able to have relationships and communicate and run a business, and it's a massive thing. But it's a gift that I don't have a choice, is what I'm trying to say.
I know you say that you don't have a choice, but you actually do. You have the choice to let it define you, and to be the reason that becomes the reason that you don't fulfill your true purpose, or you don't follow your passion, because, how are you going to run a fitness facility? How are you going to coach groups on the floor? Maybe it's a good thing you don't hear me whining that you're when you're coaching me. Maybe that is a blessing. However, you could use that to limit yourself, but you have chosen not to. So you made the choice. You made the choice to allow it to guide you to be a strength, and I think that's incredible. And I think another thing that actually really blew my mind, because this one I didn't know about you, was I believe you're a very powerful motivational speaker. I've watched your YouTube shorts. I've listened to you in class, because we start every one of our classes with some form of a motivational story or a tip. And you are a very powerful speaker, but it hasn't always been that way. And you've had an obstacle in your path that for most people would absolutely prevent them from ever standing in front of a group and speaking. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, really, thank you for your encouragement. But it definitely has been a journey for the speaking that we do, to lead off classes with something motivational, something inspirational, some story, get people thinking, and that really all through. I can remember junior high that you have to do these short presentations, and I can remember specific ones. One was about I got the Nile and the Amazon rivers, and I had to like give facts and do some sort of informative thing. And I tried, like I had it kind of mapped out in my head, and it's not like I didn't care. I always seem to care and want to do my best. And I got up there and it was just a disaster, like just a catastrophe. Kind of where you sit down and like the class is all silent and the teacher's like, well, I guess we'll go to the next person. You know what I mean?
High's hard enough.
So yeah, that's a ways back. Obviously, that's almost to be expected in a lot of ways. But really, through high school, definitely not a strength at all. And then fast forward, going to Red Deer College. So like I'm in my early 20s now, taking business, and of course there's working in groups. There's you have to do some speaking in front of the class, and they're trying to develop those skills. And the one that I remember very, very clearly is it was just like a 5-minute talk on, I forget what the topics or whatever, but it was a 5-minute talk, and we were going through them fairly quickly to get them all done in a couple classes. And the teacher, the way she did it was that she had all the names of the classmates in a hat. And when you finished your presentation, you just had to pick a name and read the name. But the problem was, even at the end of my 5-minute spiel, which I'm sure did not go very well at all, I was shaking so bad that I actually couldn't pick up the paper, like because there's multiple ones and you're trying to get one, to actually be able to pick out a single one and read it to announce the next student to present. And obviously that's a challenging thing. You've got all your classmates there. It's very visible that you're shaking so bad that you can't even pick out the next name. And this is where my amazing speaking, as you say, has started. This is the journey.
And I think any of your students or anybody who has watched your YouTube videos that would be a difficult thing to believe, is that you struggled so much with public speaking. And you had said to me that you wouldn't be able to hold a microphone. You would shake so hard. Mm-hmm. Yet watching you in front of a group, it's like you have the most confidence and the most, you're very steady, and no one would know that's the journey that you had, that you fought that level of nervousness, which is, I think, a very common fear for people, is speaking in public. Mm-hmm. But it looks like it is such a natural, you haven't had to work at this. It's been so easy for you. Mm-hmm. I do know a lot of people who have had an experience like that and have never spoken again in public. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's people that are surprised that you're on a podcast and doing these sorts of things. So something like that, how did you overcome that? How did you not, how did you use that obstacle to turn it into something of obviously such a strength?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think something clicked when I opened the fitness facility, and motivational speaking was going to be part of what we do. I think internally I just committed that, like, I'm going to do this. I'm not going to skip this part. I'm not going to convince myself that it's not important. People just want to work out or whatever. And yeah, we both know it's 6 a.m. sometimes. There's a few yawn, a little bit of zone out, right? But I think a big part was leaving the past in the past. When I was opening the facility, it was just a commitment that I was going to do everything to the best of my ability, and that's, I think, always been a feature of what I try and do and what I try and embody. And when I made that commitment, it's like, I tried to be prepared. I listened to some instructional videos, like tried to do some work that way. But before you know it, you had people staring at you, and it was time to talk. And was I nervous? Absolutely. But when I committed that I was going to do it, every time it seemed like, well, that wasn't so bad. And I think I think I actually did okay there. Like, you know, not every time comes out perfect, but it's like, and then it was literally just a repetition from there, and learning some different tweaks and how to not go too long and drawn out, trying to get away from the and you knows. And I mean, I still have the odd one of those in there. But the skills came and the skills developed when I think about it from committing and, you know, not just bringing my past into my present and using that saying, oh, I was terrible at this all through school. I was terrible at this. Remember what happened when you were in front of the class and you couldn't even pick out that piece of paper? But, you know, I should say with that, even though, you know, massive improvement through the commitment and through the repetition and through just owning that, I still get nervous. I still today, it's not just I couldn't hold the microphone. Obviously, when I can't pick out a piece of paper, you can't hold the mic. I still wouldn't hold the mic today. You know, even
thank goodness for the stand.
Like right here, even on a podcast, or if I even, you know, like the idea of in front of a group of people, I'm taking the headset, baby. When opportunities come for more motivational speaking in different arenas, you know, that's kind of my dream, is to take what the commitment and all the lessons learned from speaking at the gym, and then just leveling up from there. And now maybe whether it's businesses, whether it's at events, different things, sharing these types of stories, I realize my whole mission, my whole journey is to encourage, and is try to inspire, and is to build up, and is to, you know, motivational stories that stick with people, personal or otherwise. And I can't do that if I don't keep speaking, and if I don't daily continue to act in spite of the fear.
And I think that's a really important point, is it's still something you're dealing with. I think that's another misconception, is that once you have dealt with an obstacle or a struggle, that you don't have to deal with it anymore. Now it's you still deal with it, but what you are doing is making a difference. And I know that from you know, my time on the floor, even before I was a coach, or now that I coach and I'm telling those stories as well, is when you see that it's making a difference, it makes you want to do it even better.
That's a great point.
Makes you want to level that up even more, because maybe now I can reach more people, I can help more people. And I think that's one thing that's an important point that you made, is that it is still a struggle for you, but you're not letting it stop you. In fact, you're using it to level up. Now you said, you know, in opening the fitness facility, that you were going to have to speak. So it was kind of like, well, I'm going to have to do it, so I'm going to do it. But I know when you opened that fitness facility, because I was there from, not the first day I was there, day 2. I was there from day 2 on for just over 6 years now. Yeah. We were about a month in, and a massive obstacle literally was dropped on you. So tell us a little bit about that.
Right. Yeah. I guess, you know, the obstacle there was also one of the hardest things that I've ever had to deal with in my life. And taking me back there and thinking about it, I guess so. Another physical obstacle is I ruptured a disc in my low back, very common spot to do it, L4, L5, when I was like 19, from golfing, trying to be a hero, swinging too hard. I golfed a lot, and I ruptured that disc. And so that can cause all sorts of problems. I was in a lot of pain back then. Yeah, getting introduced to nerve pain, sciatic pain that went down into my calf, and it's like a knife is there, and you can't sleep at night, and you can't. Yeah, there's hardly any pain like nerve pain for anyone who hasn't experienced it. Right? It drives you crazy. Actually, it's so debilitating. So that happened then, but all the advice, like no surgery, you know, you're fit, you're strong. I'd been strength training for like 6 years now,
strength
7
is
years.
The way, baby.
So strength is the way. So they're like, listen, you're too fit, you're too young, you just patience. And this is one of the best things you can do, is continue your strength training, be safe, but this is it. So, you know, I did that. Obviously still to this day, you know, I competed as a natural bodybuilder. multiple times and stayed strong. But still, I always had to be careful because you could certain days even in the gym where it's like, no, I'm not. I'm gonna shift gears.
So you're being smart.
Yeah, being smart. But and really from all the way from that time, pain, back pain. Every day from the time I wake up in the morning till when I go to bed, and that is true now. But back when I first opened, very, very thankful. Over 100 members within like 3 weeks. Like it just had a great response, and people were telling their friends. And I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm doing my best. And obviously, some good pieces were happening there as I learned how to do group fitness, got transfer kind of from a one-on-one personal trainer to training groups, and massive learning curve. But one day I'm down there coaching, and I was running the music through my iPad, which was just on the stairs, like at about knee height. And I literally reached down to pick up my iPad, and I felt it. I felt pop. And I'm like, that definitely wasn't good. And so I had classes to coach. I was a one-man show running 7 classes a day, 5 days a week. But by that evening, I was like, I'm in trouble. By the next morning, I was in such bad shape. I had to like crawl out of bed, and a couple days went by, and my body literally had me in this position where my low back was totally rounded, like forcing you to try and put some relief on that disc, because what had happened is the disc had kind of popped out of the rupture and was now sitting on my nerves, right? And long story short, I had no choice. One-man show, everything's on the table, everything's on the line. Opening the business took us right to zero as far as the bank account, the loan that we took for purchasing equipment, everything. This was a massive step. I'm currently, living with my parents, me and my wife, because we had traveled and we're getting resettled, and like there was a lot of stuff happening, and I had to coach from a chair for 3 months because I couldn't physically stand, but I had 7 classes a day to do, and it doesn't work without me. So there was no choice. So I was in that chair, that office chair, because when sitting, I had a little bit of relief, and I kind of had to pivot and figure out how to coach without me actually demoing or demonstrating, which I think up-leveled my skills. It showed my resolve and commitment to what we were doing. But ultimately, I think that one, tying in with the obstacle as a path, it's like, if I just opened the business with all these things happening, and I was able to endure and continue through that, then what else you got? You know what I mean?
I remember that. I remember coming in for class, and you literally couldn't stand up straight. You were bent right over. You looked like you were in extreme pain, yet you were still welcoming people. You were still focused on them, which as you said, you had to be. Mm-hmm. Still asking how, our day was, mm-hmm. that sort of thing. Coaching, talking people through demoing for you. Mm-hmm. And this is, I'm guessing almost everybody that was there was new to lifting. Mm-hmm. So we hadn't done a whole lot of this. So it's not like if it was me or anybody else, naturally knew how to be talked through a demo. Mm-hmm. So that, I think the example that you set, not that, no pain, no gain, or push through it, but you had just opened this business. You've got a very young family that's depending on you, your life savings into this, mm-hmm. I think is a very, very powerful lesson in what you can do when you feel like it's your only path. Mm-hmm. But that example, the way the community, even just that little group, I had never been a part of a group before that rallied that quickly to try and, we couldn't take your pain away, but to try and help, or what can we do? We can put equipment away. I think that started a culture in that group of really looking after each other and looking out for each other and helping. And I think the ripple effect of that is even greater than you alone.
I agree. I think you have a great point, and I think you're bringing up things a couple times, both with when I say about my challenges with speaking, and with this is at the end of the day too, it's it's not just focusing on what you get, it's what you give. You know, like you say, like I'm talking about my struggles with communication where I want to go, but put the focus on, well, why do I want to speak? Is it so that I can think I'm amazing and be up in front of a bunch of people, or is it more the impact that you can have through continuing to face these challenges, to continuing to do your best, to continue, because at the end of the day, how your life is going to matter and the impact, it all comes back to the impact that you've had on others. So also realizing, yes, I had a family, and yes, times were stressful and different things, but also I think believing in what I was doing so much that it's like, I can't quit. Like these people are just getting going. They're just starting to see some stuff. And it's like, it shows the power that if you have a business, the power of a team is a beautiful thing to have. Maybe learn that lesson the hard way as well. But I mean, I was just starting, right? So like, what do you do? And just realizing, I think when you can take the eyes off yourself to the best of your ability, like you even say, ask about other people's days, not just use this as your main conversation starter. That's people have their own struggles, their own jobs that they just came from to get into the gym. So yeah, I was in pain and yeah, I was suffering, but try and do my best job to not make it all about me,
And I think that all of that ties together in what our main theme is, and we always go back to strength being the way.
Yes.
And so if you allow those obstacles and those struggles to lead you to your strength, and to work as best you can, because life isn't going to be easy. Everybody's going to have struggles, and you don't always know somebody's story. And not to make light of the very real and awful struggles that can happen, but that if you allow yourself to work with them, and you allow it to be part of your strength, and allowing it to guide you to that the obstacle really can be the path.
I think what you say is absolutely true, and that's really what we're talking about here. This is some of my personal story, but nobody could sit down and say, "Oh, I haven't had any obstacles, I haven't had any challenges." But it's not the challenge; it's how you respond to the challenge.
Absolutely.
And that is what determines your results. That is what determines everything, the outcome, right? Like the pain is guaranteed, whether it's physical pain, physical challenges. These are a few key ones in my journey. But by doing my best and learning this kind of what's become a life motto, that the obstacles are there. That is why we face them, to lead us to our greatest strength. That's like, in my mind, that's a universal law. That's not just some wishy-washy thing. That is a universal law. But the thing is, with that, we still have to choose, because whether we choose to see them as something that is limiting and beating us down, and or choose to see it as the path and see the strengths and see the positives from it, that is going to completely shape our journey, right? Same. You could come up with examples with people with the same obstacles, more or less, two totally different attitudes, two totally different choices on this concept, which leads them to totally different places. One goes out and does amazing things. You can think of people like Helen Keller. You can think about people like that who have done these inspirational things with this massive challenge. And there's people that haven't made those choices, right? That haven't put it together, that clicked, to make it click that, hey, this is difficult, but this is here to serve me, not to beat me down.
And I think that you can look at it that I'm going to be a victim, or there's nothing I can do, or you can be so empowered by the fact that you always have a choice. And maybe what I'm dealing with what you're dealing with, the way you're dealing with it, the lessons you've learned, if you can even just use that to help someone else in their path and in their journey, maybe that's why the obstacle was there. Maybe that's how you can use that obstacle. But you always have a choice in that. And I think that is a very powerful lesson and a powerful realization.
I absolutely agree, and that's really what it all comes down to, is that realization. That's what this message is about. That's what we want people to hear, because I know things are in their own life. We can all think about different obstacles, but how are we facing those obstacles? Like I will just say that I back to the very beginning of the podcast as we wrap up here. It's I talked about the blue dumbbells and really what has shaped my whole life to now being a fitness facility owner and having this great passion in my life. We talk about strength being the way, the obstacle being the path, and also at the end of the blog it says, magic is the mission. And what is magic? What does that mean with what I'm talking about? What I see with obstacles and with what we're talking about, and with resistance training, magic is taking it from being focused on external things like losing the 20 pounds and this sort of thing, something you want to get, and the magic happens when you internalize it to something that you're going to become. Mm-hmm. Because when now this isn't just about some external result, which isn't a bad thing, we can have those goals, but magic being the mission, what we're saying there is that if you can take this challenge and not just want to get something from it, but become this thing, and you internalize it and it becomes a way to live your life. Now, where you're always, the obstacle is the path, and you're looking for how strength is the way, and you've got it so that resistance training is just a part of who you are. It is that, well, that's the magic that I'm talking about. Now you're internally driven, because now this is my identity, and this is who I am. I can firmly say, without resistance training, I'm not myself. I'm not who I've become, which started with that terrible time, that terrible, difficult obstacle of having epilepsy. But it helped me realize what the real magic is. And when we see that happen in our students, however long it takes, 6 months, 6 years, whatever. But when it's like, it's part of my identity now, that this is how I live and this is who I am, that's the magic. Because now this person has something that will last for the rest of their life. Yeah. And that is what we're about at the Armoury. And I think, that's it applied to resistance training, but that type of magic applies to everything, including, how do I face obstacles in my life? What type of person am I? And when you have the identity that, I'm gonna find some strength in the struggle. I'm gonna have the glass half full. I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to face things to the best of my ability. I'm going to look for lessons in these challenges and do my best to apply them, and maybe even have the honor of teaching them. And the best way to teach is through example. And then when you're in that cycle, I think now you're really able to make an impact in your life, and that's what excites me.
And I think that is an amazing message. And I think there's only one response to that. Boom, baby.
Boom, baby. Hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in. If you want more on this topic, a great book on it is The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. Feel free to give that a read, and hopefully you come up with some ways that you can build on this topic and put it to use in your life.